This is The Sports Life.
And Peyton Ramsey takes the snap, runs his way forward, dives forward, and it is a touchdown!
Purdue, and they win.
Indiana wins! The Hoosiers have knocked off the Purdue Boilermakers.
McCourt for the win. In the air, it is up, and it is good! Yes! Good! Upset!
Let's go, baby!
Upset in Champaign!
Oh, some happy moments from 2019. Don Fisher talking about Indiana getting the old Oaken bucket back. And what a great call from Brian Barnhart, who will be on the show, by the way, as Wisconsin gets upset by Illinois by a single point, 24-23. And welcome into the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, we have an interesting show lined up for everybody. And one of the really interesting guests we're going to have is Jim Tressel. And we've asked Jim to join us because as we look at this kind of murky area called the NCAA and how sports is being administrated, he's the one guy, Dalton, that has been at the lower level, the high level as a coach. He's been a university president, so he's dealt with it in that realm. And now he's in government. And government's a part of this now, too. So if anybody can take a look at this from all angles, it's him. So that's just going to be a great conversation.
He's the Jim of all trades, and it's going to be a lot of fun to hear his perspective on all of this. And
Did you work on that?
I should have, right?
Yes.
Well, and you mentioned Illinois football. We're going to be talking with Brian Barnhart later to preview the upcoming season. The Illini might be the Big Ten's dark horse. It'll be fun to catch up with Brian Barnhart. And also, we might have a precedent-setting lawsuit that involves the Big Ten right now. Wisconsin is suing Miami, and to figure out what is happening and what it means for the future, we'll have Deb Schneider join us a little bit later on as well.
Well, the year we're going to flash back to right now is 2019.
And let's keep on the Illini football train, huh? We already had one great moment. How about this one? In 2019, the Illini come from behind. They trailed 28-3 at Spartan Stadium to Michigan State. They come all the way back and win it with this game-winning touchdown called again by Brian Barnhart.
Peters rolls right, looks to the end zone, lob, touchdown! He's got it! He's got a touchdown! Daniel Parker! Daniel Parker with 5 seconds left! Touchdown, Illinois!
Boy, that booth rocks, doesn't it, when they win?
That's a lot of fun there.
Well, that's why they call it a 60-minute game, right?
That's absolutely right. So the Illini get that win 37-34. The irony as well, Daniel Barker ends up transferring to Michigan State shortly after that, after he catches that game-winning touchdown against the Spartans. Let's switch things over to East Lansing, though, and focus on Michigan State's run in 2019 on the hardwood. That men's basketball team completed a back-to-back Big Ten championship when they hoisted the banner this season, and to do so, they had to beat Michigan 3 times for 2 different banners to win it at the end of the regular season on the final game of the season and also in the Big Ten tournament. Let's flash now to St. Patrick's Day 2019 where Michigan State beat Michigan in Chicago for the Big Ten tourney.
Now to McQuaid. Does he have another 3 in him? He does! He does! He got it!
Wow, Matt McQuaid.
He's got 27 points, and Michigan State is back within 2. Cash still out there. Xavier Simpson doesn't want to get picked. He breaks to the basket. Bank shot up. It's in! It's in! With 29 seconds to go, Michigan State is taking the lead. And the ball is flipped in. The clock is 0. And Michigan State has done something that has never happened in the history of this series. Michigan State has played Michigan in the same season twice for a championship and won both of them. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And that last game of the regular season in East Lansing was for the championship. Mm-hmm. And after that, Dalton, Coach Beeline was still at Michigan, obviously Coach Izzo at Michigan State. It got such great national notoriety. There was a movement afoot. Why don't we just make, on a home-and-home basis, the Michigan State basketball game the last game every season? And everybody thought it was a great idea, so we didn't do it.
That seems to be just about
there
right.
There you
go. Well, that wasn't all for Michigan State men's basketball and Tom Izzo and the Spartans that season, because in March Madness, the Spartans would have to go through number 1 Duke. This is a Duke team with Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, R.J. Barrett, loaded. One of the best college basketball teams you'll ever see talent-wise. The Spartans beat them 68-67 thanks to a former walk-on, Kenny Goins, putting the dagger in Duke. You'll get to hear that call and the final sequence as Cassius sprinted away from Zion Williamson.
40 seconds left in this basketball game. 20 on the shot clock. With the ball, Tillman high post. Now to Kenny Goins. Here's the three. He got it! He got it!
Wow! Coach did a great job. We ran it a little earlier. It didn't work, and we went back to it. Coach was like, it's going to be open. This guy next to me has been making my job real easy all year, finding me when I'm open, and as soon as it left my hand, I knew it was good. I was kind of planning my celebration already, but knew I had to get back on defense.
4.7 left. On the side, in front of the Duke bench, flipping in will be Tillman. Everybody's on the other end of the court. It's going to be frantic on this play. Tillman looking, and he gets it to Cash. He's all by himself. It could be a breakaway, but he doesn't shoot. Time runs out. Michigan State has just won the region. Michigan State 68, Duke 67. Folks, we are going to the Final Four.
Can you believe that? What an inbounds play. It caught everybody sleeping. What a play by Cassius Winston. Wow.
This special collection of individuals continues to amaze. Unbelievable.
Half this arena is on their feet celebrating, and the other half is simply stunned.
Well, it was an amazing game, no doubt. And as I reflect back, Michigan State should have been a number one seed. That kind of game should have been played in the Final Four, but it was not. And if people reflect back to that team, they always, what made that team so good? Well, obviously great point guard play with Cassius Winston. But Dalton, I thought one of the great things about that team was that team didn't care if it was playing Alma College or Duke. Just didn't care. They just went out and took care of business. So when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to have a great conversation with Jim Tressel in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Every kid deserves a chance to feel safe, to have their own bed, to be loved and cared for. That's why I love my foster parents. They make me feel like part of the family.
Raise hope and foster dreams for one of 13,000 Michigan children in foster care. Visit michigan.gov/hope for a home or call 855-MICH-KIDS. That's 855-MICH-KIDS. Sponsored by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor? Yes, I am. Yay. My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, to say college athletics is in a state of turmoil could be a mild understatement. It's almost like if there's an issue to be found, you can find it somewhere in the NCAA universe. As the debate continues over how to compensate players for the services and which university teams will get the lion's share of the revenue share money, the massive amount of media coverage dealing with this situation for the most part has focused on Division I universities. Yet, as this situation continues to evolve, there has been far less coverage about all this and how it might affect Division II and Division III athletic departments, not to mention NAIA institutions. Well, if there's one individual who might have a solid understanding of the situation, it would be Jim Tressel, who has viewed college athletics from many different angles. In Jim's career, he has coached football at the 1AA level at Youngstown State, as well as the Division I level at Ohio State. And to his credit, he has led teams to 5 national championships. He has viewed athletics as a university president, and now he is in government as the state of Ohio's lieutenant governor. And we should note right here that some people believe government intervention could be the key to returning orderly behavior to this entire situation. So with that, let's welcome Jim Tressel into the show. And Jim, I guess I'll start with my first question. As we look at the overview here, how do you think all of this is going to affect Division II and Division III athletics?
You know, I think it's going to be an interesting chain of events. You know, we're kind of new in this sudden change, if you will. You know, the only thing I always felt was the only thing constant was change. So, you know, change was always occurring in the course of time. What will be interesting as you watch and start getting some data on some of these like portal situations and so forth, you know, you're starting to see that you're hearing about the ones who have made changes and done very well, but we haven't heard much about the group that maybe it wasn't the best idea, and so I think we're going to need, 5 years worth of just watching evolution. Obviously, if the Power Four picked up their ball and just went away, I think that would really affect the rest, because so much of the lower divisions, especially in terms of championships, are funded, by that top level and basically the NCAA tournament. I think if the Power Four ever picked up their ball and left, they might pick up both balls. That it could be impactful, and then all of a sudden, having championships in Division III track probably wouldn't happen, or Division II volleyball or whatever. But I think it's a little bit early to be able to adequately predict what will happen. But there's always impact along all levels when the various changes are made.
Well, Jim, one of the unique positions you have been in, you've seen athletics at the coaching level, and you've also seen athletics as a president of a university. So if you were still sitting in the president's chair, how might you view all this?
Well, it's interesting. One thing I realized after being a president for a while. I ended up doing it for almost 9 years. That it's really, with all that comes across your desk, it's really hard to become totally informed on everything. Obviously I had an advantage when it came to athletics because I'd spent 4 decades. And so it really made me wonder that if perhaps some of our, I guess I would call them unfortunate decisions, occurred back when the presidents started being in charge of intercollegiate athletics, as opposed to the athletic directors and former coaches. And because, they really didn't have the in-depth knowledge of just what college athletics meant. And so they did, though, have an understanding of revenue opportunities and those types of things. And so, I guess if I had a do-over for college athletics, I might not have gone the route of presidents taking control when they did. I think might have been the late 80s or somewhere in there, mid 80s, simply because having been a president, I realized that, man, if you're going to get really informed in your engineering school, your health sciences, your liberal arts, your this, your that, your fundraising, your community activities, I don't know how you would have time to really understand the nuance of something like intercollegiate athletics.
That's really interesting. And since we're talking specifically about your background and experience as university president, you talk about maybe eventually Division II championships in certain sports might have to phase away. And if I get on my own personal soapbox for a moment, I have a brother-in-law who is playing baseball at Purdue Fort Wayne, and after 3 years, he was getting ready for a senior season. They eliminated the program. They eliminated baseball and softball, and their university president was quoted saying as much as, in this new landscape, it's really hard for the regional universities to kind of stay there at that spot. But I'm curious, given your president experience, how much is a fear that programs in sports altogether, besides championships, just start to phase away in some of these other areas?
It worries me because sometimes those decisions are made by people who don't really understand the depth of the impact of a team activity. And not just the sports teams, but I know we had 9 engineering teams at Youngstown State, and you could see the quality of the experience that those engineers that became part of a team, they were just swooped up right away by business and industry, because business and industry wants people who know how to work on teams, who know how to compete, who know how to work under the gun. And so sometimes I worry that that sports are eliminated just on we could save this amount of money. And again, it's back to, do the leaders, whether they're board members or presidents, do they understand the nuance, the depth, or do they just look at, this is costing us money? And I felt as a college president, I wanted to add sports. We added women's bowling when I was there. In fact, Youngstown State was just the Division I national champions in bowling. We added men's swimming back because we had a women's swimming team. And I thought, while we're adding women's lacrosse, we could do the offset number and, still be in Title IX compliance. Why don't we just add those 40 male swimmers who average about 3.8, have great discipline, are going to go on and being wonderful employees. So I was always a believer in adding any team activity you could, whether it was a musical ensemble or a theater production or an engineering team or a volleyball team or a baseball team. It's hard to put the value of what that means to that person being part of that activity. And I believe our country, our workforce, our corporative world needs people who understand how to be on a team and how to compete.
Jim, where did that get lost in translation? I mean, that is part of the college experience. When did that get lost, that message?
I think there was a slow evolution that the value of sport that maybe 50 years ago was that, it was the lessons you learned, the work ethic, the discipline, the understanding of how to work as a team, the understanding you're going to have to handle when you lose and handle adversity, and you're also going to have to handle when things are going well, and all those lessons that sport teaches, all of a sudden they became maybe less a part of the conversation, and it became, where are you ranked? How much did you play? Did you get a trophy? Did you make the playoffs? And then now, of course, it's evolved to, and how much money are you making in NIL? And now, hey, you know what? If things are going tough and you're going to have to fight your way into the lineup, you know what? I'll just leave. So I think there's been a slow change to, what I always ask people when they say, well, what are we going to do about athletics? My response is always, well, first tell me what outcome you're desiring. So are we going to maximize revenue and compensation opportunity, or are you going to make the desired outcome be the values gained by playing the sport? Because once you know the answer to that, if the answer is revenue and notoriety, then you do it simply like a business. If the answer is all of the values you gain and all the things you learn, then you make it like an educational endeavor. So first you have to decide what you want from it.
Well, Charlie Baker, the new president of the NCAA, Jim, it looks like he's trying to find some government intervention to put sanity back into this college athletic situation. You're in politics now. Do you think that's the way to go?
Well, always the best way for things to happen is at a local level, organically, and to get all who are involved and affected to agree this is what we need to do. The minute you move toward, well, we need someone outside of town or someone, at the state capitol or the nation's capital to solve our problems, I'm not sure that's the best thing. And so I think, and I don't know Charlie Baker, but, I think the thought is, well, the NCAA tried to do it for 40, 50 years, after they deregulated television and they knew the revenue was going to go through the roof. And they made decisions along the way, then here we are. And they lost in court quite a bit. George is here. And so therefore, they're kind of throwing their hands up saying, well, maybe the government will take care of this for us since, we've not figured it out. So I guess maybe it's their only option right now. I think it'll be interesting.
Well, Jim, as a final question, as you kind of look down the road, are you optimistic that there might be an end of all this that works out well for everybody?
Well, you'd like to think that with the glass half full and the thought that things work their way out. Again, that's why all the way back to your first question about, will things impact one another? Well, I think we need a little longer to see, because the market drives what the market drives. And will this NIL world be sustainable? I don't know. Because currently it's kind of like anarchy. There are no rules. There is no governance. And I think maybe that's why Charlie's saying, hey, we need some help to get some regulation and, that type of thing. Regulation that can stand up in court. because that's, what's happened is they realized what they were doing probably was not able to stand up in court. Yes, I'd like to think that you end up, I used to tell recruits or parents that called me about their kid being recruited, I used to always say, relax, you're going to end up where you need to be. And so if someone wants you, then, they're going to recruit you. If they don't, someone else might. But there's going to be a place for you if you want to play. And so I would like to think the same will be true with college athletics, as we'll go through an interesting time. It appears right now that, in the makeup of college athletics is the rich are getting richer. And unlike the NFL, where if you're in first place, you get the last draft choice, if you win the Super Bowl, where in college athletics, hey, if you end up near the top and you have more money than everyone else, you're always going to get the top draft choice. So it'll be interesting to see how long that is sustainable. But we're so new into this current world of college athletics that I think we have to let it play out a little bit.
Well, Jim, I really appreciate it. And you have a view of this that most people don't have. So, by the way, do you like your new job?
I do. When people ask me that, I say, well, I like about 80% of it. And some people say, well, that's pretty good. I'm not sure I like 80% of my job. And I said, well, I used to like 98% of coaching. But it's good. It's fine. Our governor is just a special man, Governor DeWine. I would have never done it if it weren't him. He just cares about every Ohioan. He cares about everyone having the opportunity to reach their God-given potential. And it's been fun watching him do his best, because just as we were talking, college athletics is in a interesting time. So is government. And just watching the care that he takes to make sure we do our very, very best to make good decisions for all the people. It's been an honor to serve with him.
Jim, as always, I appreciate it.
Yepper. And, let's talk in 5 years and go back and look and see what we've learned.
Not a bad idea, Dalton. 5 years, let's see how this thing plays out. At least in 5 years, I hope it has played out.
That's right.
And thanks to Jim Tressel for joining us and giving us some great insight to an interesting situation. Well, when we come back with more of the sports life, we're going to take a look at maybe the dark horse in Big Ten football this year, the Fighting Illini. It's all coming up in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
That ought to do it. Totally energy efficient.
Oh no, not again. This time, we're getting help.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the battle of energy efficiency improvements. In this corner, Mr. I can save money and do it on my own. And in this corner, Miss Let's Get It Done Right with some help. Fight! Or you could just go to avoidenergydrama.com. From sealing your home to helpful loan options, you'll find all the tips and tools you need to stop wasting energy and stay comfortable. Avoidenergydrama.com. Brought to you by Michigan Saves.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
And welcome back to more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you. Well, getting ready for Big Ten football coming up pretty soon. A lot of people like Penn State to win it all. How do you not like Ohio State? But there's a team that also is getting a lot of national chatter for being a team that could make the college football playoffs, and that is Illinois. And joining us now is the voice of the Illini, Brian Barnhart. And Brian, welcome. And so as we look at the numbers, 16 starters back, including a quarterback, won 10 games last year, got a pretty favorable schedule. So are you buying into all this? Do you believe this is a team that could make the college football playoffs?
Well, it's good to be with you, Will. And yeah, I think people are saying, could Illinois be this year's Indiana last year? I guess that's possible. I think the history with Illinois football has been they've been inconsistent. When they've had a Sugar Bowl team under Ron Turner, then they fall back down. When they've had a Rose Bowl team under Ron Zook and stayed up there for a year or two, and then they fell back down and then went through some lean years. And so I think the mindset of the fans is, yes, we're really excited, and we should be excited with all the people that are back, including Luke Altmaier. But there's also that recognition that we did win some close games last year. The Rutgers game, where they were dead in the water and they pulled it out. The Purdue game, and Purdue, wasn't a great team last year, and they missed a 2-point conversion, or they would have won the game in Champaign. So there's a couple right there that just reminds you that some of these games are, on the razor's edge. And last year, and really under Brett Bielema's tenure, they've tended to win those games, whereas maybe in years past they didn't. So, with the schedule the way it is, the one really big game is Ohio State at home. USC also comes to Champaign, but some of the other road games are games you would think you would have a shot to win. People are feeling really confident, and it's not just the people in Champaign overall, but it's the national people that are all saying that. And I think that's pretty exciting. We haven't been in that kind of rarefied air very often with Illinois football, and I think people are really excited about it.
No, I think something that injects that confidence, too, to circle back, is your signal caller, Luke Altmaier. I mean, if you're grading top quarterbacks in the Big Ten, I think a lot of people would have Drew Aller in the conversation, but you have Luke Altmaier maybe 1 or 2 entering the season for the conference. And so with that being said, what happened last year to get the turnovers down, to get the touchdowns up for Altmaier, and how does that springboard into an even bigger year maybe this year?
Yeah, I think it was because that first year he came in, we didn't know a whole lot about him. I mean, we knew he had played a little bit at Ole Miss, and then he transferred in. He was a great kid, still is, but you didn't know quite what you had. And eventually, at the end of that first year, John Paddock came in at the very end and took over, if you remember that. And so, I think that second year under Barry Lunney, I just think he got a lot more comfortable. Pat Bryant emerged as a really big target, earned his way to the NFL, and they had a couple of other guys that Zachary Franklin could catch the ball in key spots, and so he had a little better, deeper receiving core to throw to. I think the offensive line gave him some time, and then just being in that second year, I think it really clicked for him and offensive coordinator Barry Lunney, and so now you've got the unusual circumstance of a third-year starter, and I think building on how good he was in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando and at the end of last year, I think people are just counting on the fact that that's going to carry over another year here this year. And so, yeah, it's a real treat to have him back. And, I think there was some talk at one time that some other schools were, maybe waving at him a little bit saying, hey, what about here? One team from the SEC, I think, and another one out west. And he was like, nope, I'm staying here. I like where I'm at. And so a lot of that confidence is built around him, and he's become more confident too, I think, in general.
Well, Brian, I think it's always sexy when you have your starting quarterback back and you're coming off a 10-win season, but it kind of looks like this defense might be the subtle star of this whole deal.
Yeah, I think it could be. And, there's some key you mentioned all the returners coming back and a defense that really, stepped up last year. And once I think Aaron Henry got more comfortable as the defensive coordinator, and then they've plugged in some really talented young guys that, developed pretty nicely. You think about the Scott, they're not brothers, but Xavier Scott, one of those guys back there. And they've moved some pieces around in the last couple of years and just really found some young guys that really clicked on the defensive side of the ball. And then when you had the pressure that Gabe Akis could apply and other big names like that, it's kind of an overlooked part. You're right, because the quarterback is the sexy. You got the running back, and you're deep at that spot, and the receivers and all that's there. But I think the defense, as you know, is in the Big Ten. You got to have some defense, especially you get into October and November, and they feel really good about. And I think Aaron Henry just grew a lot over the last couple of years as a full-time defensive coordinator, and I think that showed up too.
Brian, doesn't this seem odd when you think of Illinois had some great teams and some great All-Americans, but doesn't it seem odd to say that if Illinois wins double-digit games, that'll be the first time ever they've gone back-to-back with at least 10 wins in a season?
Yeah, it does seem strange. And I think even if you go to 8 or 9 wins back-to-back, that's been pretty rare too. So, yeah, it does surprise me a little bit, but I've lived the last 25 years, and that's the thing where it's been really, really good. You think about, the team that Juice Williams was on and Aurelius Ben and some of those great players. And then you had a little uptick, after that you won a Texas Bowl, but, and then we started, I think 6-0 in 2011 and then lost the last 6 games, and Ron Zook got fired. And then we kind of went through Tim Beckman and then Lovie Smith. And so, kind of didn't win a lot of games in that stretch, maybe pop up and play in a bowl game, but that was about it. So, yeah, that's been more the history of Illinois football in general, just the inability to string together high-level success. There's some here and there's some there. The great 83 team that everybody remembers, David Williams and Jack Trudeau and all the great names there. But those teams, there's a reason those teams are revered, because there just haven't been that many over time. And I think that's the one thing Brett Bielema has really been working on, is getting the consistent, not just winning games, but consistently winning games over a long period of time. Continuity in staff, putting yourself, and I think Josh Whitman's done a great job, the AD, of giving him all the tools, an outstanding facility, everything that comes with it. And Brett Bielema is just a great one-on-one person, and he's really good at keeping guys engaged. He's a player's coach, but he also has their respect, and he's done really, really good, uncannily good job of guys. Not a lot of guys going into the portal, and even if they go in, there's a couple of them. Casey Washington a couple of years ago came out of the portal, came back because I think of Brett Bielema and his impact.
Well, I know it feels good. I appreciate it, Brian. Good luck.
Hey, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
As always, a fun chat with the voice of the Fighting Illini, Brian Barnhart. Well, when we come back with more of the sports life, we're going to talk about a legal case involving a Big Ten school that might set precedent. Back with more in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little? But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, Dalton, I don't think we can have too many weeks without having Deb Schneider on because everything keeps changing so much. Of course, Deb is a sports law attorney with Fishman Stewart and an adjunct professor at Michigan State and Wayne State Universities. And Deb, thanks for joining us again. So let's just get into it. Can you tell us what is going on between Wisconsin, Miami, and Xavier Lucas?
So to get into the lawsuit, Xavier Lucas was enrolled in Wisconsin. He asked to go into the transfer portal, and Wisconsin didn't want to put him in the transfer portal because they obviously wanted him to play. So he, after some back and forth and hiring an attorney, he unenrolled at Wisconsin and then enrolled at Miami a week later. Wisconsin is claiming that Miami had meetings with Xavier Lucas and his family and basically tampered with the agreement they had with them. The NCAA came out and said that a transfer like that is really not a violation. You unenrolled, you re-enrolled. So the NCAA has kind of put this on the back burner. So Wisconsin came in very recently, the last couple of weeks, and filed a complaint alleging tortious interference against Miami. The interesting thing about this is the tortious interference, the lawsuit is both Wisconsin as well as the collective. And Xavier Lucas had signed agreements with both of them. They did not sue Xavier Lucas, though, which is interesting, but had they, it would have opened up a whole other can of worms. So that's where we are right now, waiting for Miami to respond.
What's really interesting about this to me, Deb, and you and I talked a little bit about this prior to actually coming on the show, this felt like it was coming down the pipe in some fashion between some institutions at some point. A case like this seems to be the first one. However this gets ruled, do you believe this will set precedent in college athletics with how players try to back out of agreements?
Absolutely. In a lot of ways, this is a case of first impression. We're dealing with state law issues. We have Florida, we have Wisconsin, we have a public institution, we have a private institution, but almost more importantly, we have a contingent contract, which the contract that Xavier Lucas signed was contingent on the House settlement, which we've talked a lot about. So it didn't really come into effect until July 1st. And since the House settlement happened, now we have a number of these contracts that are probably out there. We have schools involved. We have budgetary concerns. Like I said, there's a lot going on in this particular lawsuit. Whatever happens, realistically, Wisconsin wins, they get money or otherwise win. It's going to have a huge impact on tampering between schools and roster stability. If Miami wins, all of these contracts are in limbo, and I don't think we're going to have roster stability because anybody can pull anyone and they can just unenroll. That potentially destroys the entire transfer portal and is another nail in the coffin of the NCAA.
Well, Deb, since the NCAA has sort of put this whole thing on the back burner, if you look at it, if you're like Xavier Lucas, you leave a school, then you enroll in a new school. If you do this, have you found a loophole, a legal loophole, by the way, in this whole transfer portal situation?
If Miami wins on this, absolutely. And I expect that we will see more of this in the future. And we're going to have, there are a lot of people looking at how do we fix the transfer portal, but a lot of that has to go with how does the NCAA enforce its rules?
Which is a big question outside of even just this issue. I mean, there's a lot of questions about authority and governance with the NCAA right now. A couple other follow-ups. Does this maybe snafu between Wisconsin and Xavier Lucas, will this have some of these athletic departments and institutions maybe re-workshopping and rethinking maybe how these agreements are put into place, or do you not really see any effect on those?
No, I think there's going to be a lot of reworkshopping on these agreements. If the agreement is upheld, we are going to see these agreements start to have non-tampering provisions in there, and we're going to see them almost like, I'm going to say employment contracts, but not really. We're going to see them with terms that you cannot go to another school, which is why it's interesting that they didn't sue Lucas, because they're saying that was part of the contract. Another interesting point is that Wisconsin did not put the contract in the complaint. They're trying to keep something very quiet here and out of public information for right now. So I think we'll see that. We will see a lot of these no tampering and no solicitation types of clauses.
Deb, one other interesting part of this is not only is this a battle between, of course, Wisconsin and Miami in this lawsuit, but the Big Ten Conference has come out in support of Wisconsin. What does that mean? How much does that matter? What do you interpret from this?
Well, I think that's a great question. The Big Ten coming out in support of Wisconsin says we don't want tampering with our athletes. And if that is the position of the Big Ten, as opposed to the NCAA, which is kind of putting this on the back burner, I think other conferences may come out and we may go back to the days where players are actually obligated to stay at an institution.
So, Deb, on the surface, if you look at this case between Wisconsin and Miami, if we know everything there is to know, it looks like Wisconsin could win this thing, but we don't know that, do we? And at the end of the day, as this unfolds, how do you think it's going to play out?
Well, the interesting thing about this contract is that it was contingent upon a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have the contract contingent upon a federal settlement. Now we have state law issues, and this is a question between, is the contract enforceable or not? So the simple way to think about this is, yes, there was a contract. Ignore the contingency aspect, which is a legal question as to whether or not that's enforceable, and say there was a contract, you had to file the contract. Now the contract is upheld, and either Miami pays some kind of compensation, Wisconsin wins. But if Wisconsin wins, what do? We can't force Lucas back to Wisconsin and force him to play. You can't do that. So now we're potentially talking about some kind of monetary solution to this. And then we have to look at the contract itself. We have this no poaching, no tampering. Usually we see those in employment contracts, but this is name, image, likeness, but it's so intertwined with the services. He wouldn't have the agreement but for the fact that he's going to play football at Wisconsin. So is this NIL or is this football?
Well, who knows? And Deb, as always, thanks.
Well, thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure.
So there you go, some of the thoughts of Deb Schneider, sports law attorney with Fishman Stewart and an adjunct professor at Michigan State and Wayne State Universities. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Live, our parting shots in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
So I graduated last year and got a job. Sweet! But it got boring. I didn't really have a purpose. Then I started volunteering with Community Action. It's a statewide network with 29 agencies across Michigan. Community Action helps people with food, housing, utilities, childcare, senior services, you name it. I found my purpose, helping people, changing lives. Won't you join me? Call 1-855-MI-ACTION or go to MichiganCommunityAction.org. Sponsored by Michigan Community Action and Michigan Association of Broadcasters.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Anybody ready for a burger?
I'm State Fire Marshal Rich Miller, reminding everyone to think safety first when it comes to outdoor grilling, whether it's charcoal or gas. Never overload your grill with food. Excess fat and grease will create large flames. Grill outdoors and never inside or in a garage. Never leave a grill unattended and always keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For more tips on safe grilling, visit the Bureau of Fire Services website at michigan.gov/BFS.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Team here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, it's been an informative show this week for sure. Jim Tressel can bring some vision to certain elements of our entire NCAA universe that other people just can't. So we appreciate Jim joining us. Brian Barnhart, always a fun chat as Illini and I get ready for a new season. And Deb Schneider, again, brings into focus some areas that are a little fuzzy. So with that, it is now time for our parting shots. What do you got, Dalton?
Oh, and by the way, if you missed any of that, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter or X. At Sports Life Now is our name. That's, again, at Sports Life Now. For my parting shot, I actually read this really interesting article from the Big Ten Conference during this past week, and I'd encourage everybody to go check out this article as well with this parting shot, because they talk about the history and tradition of the Big Ten. Not just the conference overall, they do get into that, but the name itself. And matter of fact, they get into some of the history that back in 1993, when Penn State University decided to join the Big Ten Conference, that there was a decision to be made, and actually the Big Ten Conference contemplated changing its name to the Big 11, which was immediately rejected by so many alums, coaches, fans, everybody was against that one. So it stayed the Big 10. And over the years, as Nebraska came in the fold, as Maryland, Rutgers came in the fold, now, of course, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, you're up to 18 teams. And it really is a little bit of foreshadowing or vision on the front end to say, instead of following the numbers so we don't climb up to Big 18 in the year 2024 and 25, you stayed the Big 10, and it means something. And I also thought this was interesting. And again, there's so much information in this article. I really do encourage everybody to go to big10.org to find this. But there was actually a fun fact in here that I was unaware of. Maybe you knew, Will. But the Big 10 name wasn't actually created by the conference. In 1917, a journalist coined the term Big Ten, and it wasn't until 1987 that it was formally incorporated as the official name of the conference. I thought that was pretty interesting.
It is interesting. Leave it to a writer.
That's right.
What are you thinking? You know, Dalton, when we opened up the show highlighting 2019, and we get into the fact that Michigan State basketball had a great run, beat Michigan 3 times in a row, got a regular season title, the Big Ten tournament title, and beat Duke in the tournament. So these are all great things. And as we were going through that, I couldn't help but reflect back to that team never really got its destiny. It didn't win the national championship, even though it got to the Final Four. But great excitement about 2020. Cassius Winston back, Xavier Tillman back. The team might even have been a little better than the year before. And, of course, as we all know, there was no tournament. And with that, that wraps up our show for this week. And as always, we want to appreciate the fact you joined us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.